good morning again to you. For those of you who are watching from home, I want to welcome you as well. We're going to be this morning, we're going to be in the book of Genesis. It should be the easiest book of the Bible to find. Just go to the very beginning, thumb till you see Genesis. You'll have to get past the table of contents and get past the introduction and all the notes at the beginning and the maps, if you have maps. And should be Genesis is where we're going to be. We're only going to be looking at a couple of scriptures to start with, and the first is going to be Genesis 1:1. And then we'll go to the end of the book. But we're going to be in Genesis. And I would tell you, those of you who are watching from home, there is a new reading schedule that we'll use as we walk through Genesis over the next several months. It's out on the website at discovermychurch.com. If you'll click SOAP, scroll to the bottom, and there's a PDF there that has this on it. And I would tell you that for those of you watching at home, if you go look at it before I get a chance to fix it, it says Mark 1:1, but that should say Genesis. We just finished Mark over the last 6 months, and so I just used the same template and didn't realize what I was doing. I was like, oh yeah, Mark, makes sense. And anyway, just proves once more that I'm human. So we're going to be Genesis 1:1 is where we're going to be. We're going to be looking at God's good. God's good is where we're going to be. So this morning, we're going to embark on this new study through the book of Genesis. And Genesis, the way it's broken now, it's going to take us about a year to go through. Now, we're going to consolidate some things as we go along. We've already consolidated from my original schedule that I had, just trying to make sure that we have major points together. So now we will make exits off of the Genesis highway over the next year as we're walking through, as things come along, as God leads, as other things need to be addressed. We will exit from that in the preaching schedule, but together we will be reading through that. The way it worked, our pattern works is we'll read through it. Like this week, we're going to read Genesis 1:1 through Genesis chapter 2, verse 17 is where we're going to read this week. And on Sunday, now we won't be here next Sunday. We're moving our daughter in her college dorm next Sunday, so we won't be able to be here. But Mr. Ken will preach over something, or all of it maybe, however God leads. Something that we've read the week before. So there'll be no surprise next week when you get here. You know that we're going to be preaching from there somewhere. And then we do a small group on Thursday nights that's based on that as well. So that's where we're going to be. So I got to tell you, I'm really excited about Genesis. I don't mind also sharing with you that I've been afraid of Genesis. Genesis, there's so much there. And it's such a big book of the Bible, so much information, so much really good, that I've been a little afraid to take it on. But it's probably one of my favorite books of the Bible. I've probably read Genesis more than any other book of the Bible. Second maybe to Matthew or John, but I love the book of Genesis. I love the history that it tells us, the setting that it sets for all the other things. I enjoy what it means for me and for all of mankind. Now, the English title Genesis comes from the Greek equivalent meaning origins, because it is the origin of the world and everything in it. The Hebrew title is derived from the very first words in Genesis, in the beginning, is where the Hebrew title comes from. It records the beginning of earth and what we know as the patriarchs, all mankind, all those people, especially those Hebrew people, from which God's blessing was given, to which God's blessing was given, and their forefather Abraham, and what that means for all of us. But Genesis is controversial, make no mistake, because it contains the biblical account of creation. There are a lot of people that consider the book of Genesis to be folklore, to be mythology, because it includes those things. There's a lot of people who believe that it's just made up. And anybody who believes it is a naive fool. Now, we know that everything that exists has a beginning in some way. And we believe that God created the heavens and earth. As Christians, we believe that God created this earth and all that we have. Created mankind, created us. We don't believe that we just spontaneously happened one day. We had a beginning. And because of that, there's a lot of people who disagree with it. And that's fine. No one was there to see God create the earth and how God created it other than God and the witnesses thereof. But we know it had to happen. And not just that, but the Arabs and the Jews go back to, they've been fighting for millennia. And they've been fighting over the promise that God gave Abraham that we'll read in the coming months. Over, was it given to Isaac or was it given to Ishmael? So did it go to the Jewish people or does it go to the Arabic people? And who really gets that blessing? It is so controversial. But friends, it is so beautiful because throughout the book of Genesis, we see God's love for mankind. We see the good that he has. Now, most people understand that Moses was the author of Genesis, right? That's what we accept. The first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch. We believe that Moses authored those things. But author may be a little bit of a misnomer, a misunderstanding. Because up until the Babylonian captivity, the Jewish people had an oral tradition. Where they passed these things down person to person. And that's part of the reason that it's so controversial. I remember a friend when I was in college, he said, I know when the Bible was written, therefore I don't believe all of it. I'm like, but you knew when it was written down for the first time. What did people do before there was a written language? Did they not communicate at all? Did they not give histories? Did history only exist when it was written down? No. Whether I write it down or not, I have a history. You have a history. And I don't want to get too much into that, but that's part of the reason that people believe it's been embellished and exaggerated and just skewed over a period of time. And I will insert my opinion from time to time as we go along. I will tell you what I believe based on the Bible and the evidence that it supports, and even the evidence of the world around us as we go along. But friends, it is such a blessed book. So what is Genesis about? So if we look at it, chapters 1 and 2, we're going to read about creation. And God created the heavens and the earth. And God said, what? It is good. Then we're going to talk about the fall of mankind. Was that good? No. And the results of the fall of mankind, that first sin that entered into the world. We'll read about the flood and the restart of the human race from Moses and his family. We'll see about Abraham. We'll read about Isaac. We'll read about Jacob. And then we'll wrap up Genesis with Joseph. But it's more than just this history. Genesis is a reminder that God is good. And God works things for good. So the theme of the book of Genesis is that God's working things out for good. So a good God works things out for good. That's what's going to be our sermon in a sentence for today. That's where we're going to focus today. A good God works things for good. Now, if you were looking at the world today, how many of you think that the world is good? Right? Well, as we look around the world, man, especially right now, there is hate. So much. I appreciated the first song that Amanda picked out for us. We all believe the same. As Christians, we believe we all started from the same man. God created one human being, right? He created Adam out of the dust of the earth and breathed into his life breathed into him the breath of life, and he became a living soul. One human being. You say, well, I thought he created two. Well, he made two out of the one. And that's a beautiful picture of marriage. But he took, from those two people, all the peoples of the world started. So that first song that we sang reminded me of the church song that I sang when I was a little kid. Jesus, Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Sing with me. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Okay, I was off key, Lindsay. Don't judge me. Don't judge. Bad off key. But red, yellow, black, and white, they're all precious in God's sight. We all started from the same people. I love that. So in Mark, we studied about Jesus as the suffering servant. When we were reading through Joshua, we learned that God is a promise keeper. So, again, in Mark, we learned about Jesus as the suffering servant. In Joshua, we learned that God is a promise keeper. But I believe that in Genesis teaches us that God works all things for good. God's work is always good. You say, well, I thought Genesis is about creation. It is. It tells us about creation. But if you look at the overall narrative of the book of Genesis, we see that God is good and He makes good things. So, the Bible reminds us time and time again, this first part, that God is good. Do you believe that God is good? I believe that. Now, I don't believe that. Now, there's a lot of people that don't believe that. They look at all the bad in the world and they say, well, if God was good, why is there so much bad in the world? Well, friends, I maintain that that's not God's doing. That's our doing. As a matter of fact, the Bible, if we look in the book of Nahum 1:7 says, the Lord is good, that He is a stronghold in the day of trouble, that He knows those who take refuge in Him. I love that. The Lord is good. God is good. And that word Lord, it's all capped. That means that's the proper name of God. Jehovah God. God is good. Now, we sometimes make gods in our own image. And we say, well, my God wouldn't do this, or my God wouldn't do that. Well, that's saying that the God that I create, the God that I invent, the only God that I can conceive of wouldn't do this or that. But friends, the Bible says God is good. And not just here, throughout the Bible. If you remember when we were in Mark chapter 10 and verse 18, Jesus says this, why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. I love that. Jesus said, only God is good. Now, people say, well, was Jesus not good? Well, right now in this spot, He's putting Himself as God. Jesus was the Son of God. He is God. He's good. Friends, I love that. And in so many other places, the psalmist in several places say, the Lord is good. The New Testament tells us that every good thing and every perfect thing comes from where? It comes from God. Every good thing and perfect thing comes from God, comes down from the Father of lights. In Him there's no variableness of eternity. There's no deceit. There's no bad in Him whatsoever. So as we begin, I want to start this morning with Genesis 1:1 and verses 1 and 2. Genesis says, in the beginning. This world hasn't always been here. It has a beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. The earth was without form. It was void. It was darkness everywhere. The world, when He first created it, was empty. As we look around the world, I'm grateful to be from Arkansas. Now, folks from Maryland may be grateful to be great from Maryland. Folks from Florida, folks from all over may be proud of where they're from. I'm grateful to be from Arkansas. And there's a lot of really cool places, a lot of pretty places, but I love the Ozark Mountains. I love the Buffalo River and all of the scenic things that it has. I love to look at it. When I look at all that, it inspires me. because God created that. See, in the beginning, the earth was without form and void. God made it good. Now, as good as it is, I asked Amanda a question last night. If you had to get rid of one thing forever, would you get rid of ticks or would you get rid of mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes.
And she said mosquitoes, and I have to agree with that. I'd get rid of mosquitoes because ticks, I can stay in the house and avoid those. I can keep my yard mowed short, not go into the woody areas. But mosquitoes are everywhere. Last night we were fighting with mosquitoes. You run in the house real quick, you shut the door real quick, and 10,000 mosquitoes come through the house. And they find you when you're asleep in bed, hovering. Now, I wonder what mosquitoes look like before the curse on the earth. Do you think they bit everybody but Adam? Do you think that, or maybe they're a mutation? Anyway, I digress. I'm going in a place I don't need to go. Everything good came from God. God is good. As I look at the Ozarks, as I look at these things, I see the goodness of God. I see the beauty of God. The earth was without form and void. And as we mark through Genesis, as you read through the account of creation, I want you to do something for me. Note what God says when He gets done with each day of creation. On the first day of creation, at the end of it, you know what God says? And it was good. Do you know what He said after the second day of creation? And it was good. Do you know even when He created mankind, do you know what He said? It was good. Friends, throughout all days of creation, God said, and it was good. Because what God creates is always good. Now, human beings take those things and they pervert them. They abominize them. They mess them up in a lot of different ways. But He said, but everything that God does is good. Now, as we march through Genesis, we're going to see a whole lot of things. We're going to see a lot of bad stuff. But even Abraham, when God did bad things, with Abraham, when Abraham did bad things, God still worked it out for good. When Isaac did bad things, God worked it out for good. When Jacob, oh my word, one of the most horrible people in the Bible, his name meant supplanter. It meant rebel. It meant one who overthrows. But God made him into something good. Friends, I love that throughout all of the Bible. And I believe that if there was a theme verse to the book of Genesis, I believe that it's at the end of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 50. So if I go all the way back to the end of Genesis, to Genesis chapter 50, starting with verse 15, if I read Genesis chapter 50, verses 15 through 21, it says this. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him." And they sent a message to Joseph saying, "Your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgressions of your brothers and their sins, because they did evil to you. And now please forgive us the transgressions of the servants of the God of your father." Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But Joseph said to them, Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones. Thus he comforted them and spoke kindly to him. I love that, verse 20. For as for you, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And we'll read about the story of Joseph being sold into slavery by his brothers because they didn't like him. He was favored. They didn't like him. So they sold him into slavery. He went into Egypt. He was in the house of Potiphar, and he did all of these good things and was accused of seducing his boss's wife and lost that and got thrown into prison. That's not good. But while he was in prison, he ended up in management of the prison and did so much good. And finally, and got abandoned and forgotten by the chief baker. Finally got released and became, sorry, if those of you on the video can't see the little baby sticking his head out and looking at me like, what are you talking about? That just tickled me. That was good. Joseph finally got released and became the second in command of all of Egypt. And his family was able to bring his family into the land of Goshen and the land of Egypt to protect them from the family. 70 people went in to the land of Goshen. And when they left, there were several million. God used that as an incubator to grow the nation of Egypt, or the nation of Israel. Friends, as we look through that, we'll see time and again that God protected people. He redeemed people. Adam and Eve sinned in the garden, but God redeemed them. Abram lied about Sarah being his wife 2 different times, but God redeemed him. Jacob lied, but God redeemed him. We see God's plan of redemption from the very first book of the Bible, how he has protected people. And you don't have to be perfect. If we'll read about some unscrupulous people in the book of Genesis that God still used for good. Friends, I don't know where you are today, but I want to remind you again that a good God works things for good. Even our bad situations. You may be in a situation today that is not good, is not comfortable, that is unfortunate, that is bad. But God can work it for good. God created all of mankind and gave us a perfect place to live. And we disobeyed. God should have wiped us out, but he didn't. He worked it out for good. Friends, time and time again, we're going to look at that. This morning, I want to remind you that God created the heavens and the earth. And it was good. God created you. And if nobody's ever told you before, you're good. God loves you. Now, that doesn't mean that you always do good things. But if you're made in the image of God, then God made you good. Now, you can make plenty of choices, and you can go your own way. Well, I love Brother Ken's sermon last week. God will give you the desires of your heart. If you don't want to go to heaven, he's not going to make you. If you want to live a life of sin and depravity, he'll let you. That's not the way he made you. But even with that, if you can come to God, he can work you out for good. Abram, we call him the father of faith, and God eventually changed his name to Abraham. But there came a point where he had to leave all of his family and friends to go to a land that God would promise him. He had to get away from all of those influences so he could become what God wanted him to be. Friends, there's so many things in the book of Genesis that are going to be a blessing to us. This morning, I'm going to ask you to bow your heads for just a minute. Just a time of reflection. I want to remind you that God is good. And I want to remind you that you were created in the image of God. Just like Adam, you were created in the image of God. And God breathed into your life the breath of life. Friends, I want you to know that God is working things out for good. I don't know what's going on in your life. There's a lot of bad. There's a lot of evil. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety. But God can work that out for good. If we will give our life to him, he will work it out for good. Let's pray together. Our God and our Father in heaven, as we bow before you this morning, Lord, I'm grateful that you love us. I'm grateful that you are good and that you're working out all these things. You're working them all out for good. for my good and for your glory. Lord, as I look around at the world and I see the bad that happens to me and around me, help me to remember that while my situation may not be good, that you can work it for good. God, that you're holy, you're righteous. That God, that you made us, you redeemed us, and you want to continue to redeem us. Father, thank you. Thank you for who you are and what you do in our lives. God, just go with us as we study through Genesis. Help us to handle your word faithfully and rightly. And Lord, just be glorified in us. We just love you and we praise you. And we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. For those of you, for those of you who are watching this morning, I want to remind you, if you came in part of the way through it, I want to remind you that we have a reading schedule. Our first reading schedule through Genesis is on the website at discovermychurch.com. Go to the SOAP, S-O-A-P, the SOAP tab, and you can download it, you can view it there, you can see it, and follow along with us as we read this week. We're going to be reading from Genesis 1:1 through Genesis 2:17, and you'll see each day laid out. We'll read about the creation of the natural world, the creation of man, God resting, the Garden of Eden, and then the first command that was given. So we're going to read on that. So I hope you're blessed, and I want to remind you that God's good, and He's going to work all things out for good. We'll see you next time.